Welcome to Diplomatic Channel. On the program this week, dwindling oil prices and failing economies were not all the world leaders sat to discuss at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. There were other issues as well, one of which was what to do about the rise of the Islamic State in Syria and in Iraq, which seems to dominate every international discussion. World terror and how to curb it, how to protect peoples of the world from those with extremist ideas, and how religion should be practiced and where. Speaking of which, the U.S. representative for religion and global affairs, Dr. Sean Casey, was in Lagos last week. We met up with him at the Public Affairs section of the United States Consulate General in Lagos. Dr. Casey talked to us about the role of religion in countering violent extremism, promoting social justice, urging action on climate change, the significance of religious actors in Nigeria, and the rationale for the establishment of his office at the U.S. State Department. Then, President Muhammadu Buhari was at the United Arab Emirates last week for the Energy Summit, where Nigeria and the UAE signed 6 agreements to enhance bilateral relations between them on trade, finance, and judicial matters. Welcome back. Dr. Sean Casey has only been in his new position at the U.S. State Department for only 2 years, and his role is more of an advisory one to the U.S. State Department on the thin line between religion and politics. His job has taken him to more than 10 countries in the world, and he's not yet done. During our chat with him at the PAS of the U.S. Consulate General, he explains why it is important to understand the role religion plays in governments and politics and how to prevent religious violence before they happen, no matter where in the world.
2 areas of my academic interest and expertise are religion and electoral politics, and religion in American foreign policy.
Dr. Casey began his briefing by stating the purpose of his office, which he says plays more of an advisory role to the U.S. State Department. Explaining the role of religious leaders in countering terrorism or acts of extremism, Dr. Casey says it does not come with a one-size-fits-all approach as to how religious leaders can douse the fire of violent extremism during political elections before they happen, but encourages dialogue on all levels, one of the reasons he's here in Nigeria.
Some people say that, some people worry that when governments begin to look at religious actors that they inevitably are going to choose some over others, and I would dispute that. So typically when I engage with a country, we work with the local embassies and consulates to meet with a diverse range of religious actors. So there have been some countries I've been to, and sometimes it takes me multiple trips. As you know, in Nigeria, for instance, just on the Christian side, there's a multitude of denominations, and it would take one person a very, very long time to meet with all of them. So I don't pretend that when I come to a country as large and diverse as Nigeria, that in a 4 or 5 day visit, I can meet the hundreds and thousands of groups. So we do try to be inclusive. We try to meet with as many different types of religious groups as possible, because to fully understand in a country as complex as Nigeria's, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of research to understand that. So we try to be inclusive. We try to, when we assess the religious actors in a country, we try to do our research ahead of time. There will be staffers from my office, I hope, coming back in the upcoming year. We will continue to expand our network. But we also have the consulate here, who has an amazing array of existing relationships. So it's not just dependent on my office coming. So to answer your question directly, we're not interested in supporting one religious group over the rest as like the official or the primary religious group. We believe that diversity of religious voices is a good thing for countries. Now sometimes they may get uncomfortable. In the United States, for instance, we have religious groups sometimes that have deep philosophical disagreements with one another. It's not the U.S. government's job to get in the middle of that and referee it, so we're not going to do that when we travel globally.
He also encourages religious leaders to go further in helping President Muhammadu Buhari's anti-graft war through messages preached at different fora of worship.
First thing I do when I come and meet with religious leaders is I don't start preaching to them. I ask them questions. What do you think is going on in your country from your position, and what does your community think? And the message I have heard from religious leaders is they are all deeply troubled by corruption, and they want to enlist their moral voices in tandem with other moral voices and other religious leaders to begin to reverse the tide of corruption in Nigeria. That's been universal. And so I'm greatly encouraged that there may be ways we might be able to partner with them going forward in their efforts to get at the corruption. So when you say I guess my advice to them is continue to pursue peace, to continue to pursue the stability of the new government, but particularly in this area of trying to identify ways that they can begin to address corruption.
Dr. Sean Casey is a graduate of Harvard Divinity School with a Master of Divinity degree and a Doctor of Theology in Religion and Society. He's also a practicing Christian. He says he does not allow that to cloud his judgment of the job. Just like the U.S. government, he encourages pluralism and believes that when people of different religious faiths preach tolerance and morality, there would be less conflicts to take care of. When we come back after the break, we'll begin our review of the Davos meetings in Switzerland, where world security and Europe's growing migrant crisis received their fair share of discussions. Please stay with us.